More wins, which also means more records for this Florida Panthers team. On today's episode of Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, Jacob Winans returns on this Winans Wednesday edition of the show, where we're going to discuss the Florida Panthers' 3-2 overtime road win against the New York Islanders on Tuesday night. And we're going to talk about some personal records as well, sir, for the captain, Sasha Barkov, all on today's episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, April 20th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from PantherParkway.com. You can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers. And thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Don't forget to also follow the national show Locked On NHL and the Crosscheck NHL show with Andrew Berkshire and Mary Clark will be covering all the regular season activities around the National Hockey League. So another win, another record for the Florida Panthers. Now with this win tonight, a 3-2 win over the New York Islanders. It is now a franchise record for road wins for this Florida Panthers team after starting 4-4-4 on the road through the first 3 months of the season, almost going a whole month without a road win. And then in one of the months, they had only one road win, and that was a road game against the Arizona Coyotes. So it was tough for this Florida Panthers team early on to get their game established on the road. And then 2020 hits, and then everything starts to click together. I mean, again, this Florida Panthers team in their first 12 games only had a goal differential of -1 on the road. So this team was just bound to get it together on the road. And now with a franchise record of 23 wins on the road, they're also now tied for the league lead in points with 116 with the Colorado Avalanche. So it's Wednesday, which means a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. So I got to bring in the guy whose theme name is for this episode of the podcast. Bring in Jacob Winans from PantherParkway.com. Jacob, welcome back to the show, and great to be celebrating yet another win for these Cats.
Yeah, that one was nice. We always love beating the Islanders, given the history. And to sweep the season series against them is big. Barkov really carried the team tonight, and yeah, it's good to see them grind one out. We haven't seen them tested like that a ton, so to see them grind one out like that in a low-scoring affair, getting goal lead, it's a big one.
Yeah, and Ilya Sorokin going 39 of 42 in this one. I mean, this game kind of reminded me of the Anaheim game all over again, where they were challenging John Gibson early and then just getting so many shots on, controlling the possession, and then it felt like it was happening all over again with the Panthers against Ilya Sorokin. I mean, only his second season in the league, and he has 7 shutouts for this New York Islanders team. I mean, it's been a tough season for this Islanders team, but he's been the definite bright spot for the Isles. But it's like when the goalie's performing well for the opposition with the amount of possession that the Florida Panthers have, it's just now we're at a point where they're bound to score when they have this many shot attempts and shots on goal.
Yeah, definitely. Sorokin stood on his head tonight, and there's nothing you could have asked him to do differently in this game. And it just goes to show the amount of firepower the Panthers have. And Barkov, that the game tying goal, that shift was just incredible. He was all over the place, just dominating possession. Took the puck from the Islanders, who had clear breakout chances, and he repeatedly took it from them. I mean, it gets to a point where as the opposition, there's really nothing you can do differently, and they're still going to beat you. So it's a really good time to be a Panther right now. They seem to have an ability to turn it on and off whenever they feel like it, and it's crazy to see that the Islanders team, their record does not indicate the team that they are right now. They've won 8 of their last 10 coming into tonight's game, so that's a playoff team, or at least playing like a playoff team at this point in time, and they have playoff talent. So that's a big time win.
Yeah, 2 straight conference finals for the New York Islanders. Of course, situations with the arena, COVID, and all that stuff for the Isles didn't really help them in a season like this. So we're expecting the New York Islanders to be in the mix next season. That's for sure. But let's talk about how we were a little bit surprised in this one. At least I was from the start, where we saw line rushes of Huberdeau and Barkov not being on the same line. And from the start, from the very first shift, Andrew Burnett puts Barkov, Huberdeau, and Giroux all together. He spoke about it after the game, talking about how he wanted to mix in a few things here and there right before the postseason starts. But here, in my opinion, is maybe next game they don't go to that and they try a different combination. And this is just seeing what can work now versus when game 1 of the postseason does eventually start.
Yeah, I love it. It's kind of a tactic we've seen in the past with Quenneville as a head coach. He did this in Chicago, and obviously Burnett, it comes from his coaching tree, so it's not entirely surprising to see him do it. It's good right now in a position where you're the likely favorite to clinch the East, so mix and match, see what works, see what you can put together, what chemistry you can build in case you have to go to a different line combination come playoff time. It gives you some different looks. It gives them some chemistry, some experience together. So if they do need to do this in the playoffs, it's not brand new. It's not the first time he's done this in recent games. We've seen the past couple of games, he'll mix the centers. We've seen him put Barkov with Marchment and Reinhart, while Lundell was with Verhaeghe and Duclair, and Bennett went to the 4th line, Listerine went to the 2nd line. It's just a lot of mixing and matching and testing out the combos. I really like it, and it's a good position to be doing that in.
Yeah, and for sure, it's the fact that the Panthers have that luxury and they're able to do it at this point of the season as well. It's such a luxury for this team. But even it's crazy because this game was as far as the shot and goal advantage, even in the first period, it was 12-4 in favor of the Panthers. But those 4 shots that the New York Islanders have, people might just see it and say, okay, the New York Islanders really didn't challenge the Panthers if you're just looking at the box score. But man, the New York Islanders had some grade A chances on those 4 opportunities. A lot of mistakes from the Florida Panthers. I mean, both of the goals that the New York Islanders had, one of them came on the power play and the other one came on a delayed penalty. So a little bit of just shooting themselves in the foot at times. But even then, the Florida Panthers were just able to find a way through.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of the 2 goals that were scored were completely off of self-inflicted mistakes, which again, Panthers are going to have to clean those up. Come playoff time, no one's expecting them to be perfect, but you just have to limit those errors, because 2 goals in the playoffs is different than 2 goals in the regular season. It's tougher to come back. Honestly, when this happens, there's no panic in the Panthers. They just battle back and make up for their own mistakes, which is a quality you want to see in a team expecting a deep playoff run. But yeah, definitely have to give some credit to Bob here tonight too. He made first period, made some saves on grade A chances. 3rd period, locked it down after that 2nd goal, and yeah, he does his job, and it was a really solid game from him. And we've seen lately he's having a lot of solid games, but the opposing goalie is just standing on his head, so we don't look at Bob's stats as much. But he's consistently put in a few good, really solid efforts the past few games, so that's definitely good to see.
Mm-hmm. Other players who had great games tonight for the Panthers, even though they didn't get on the on the score sheet. I mean, Gus Forsling, I believe he got a secondary assist on the game winning goal by Barkov, but Gus Forsling was getting in the shooting lanes of the Islanders as well, and he's had many shot attempts. And Mason Marchment, there were lots of opportunities, but Mason Marchment missed the net quite a few times. But still, Mason Marchment being active, that third line was setting the tone early in the first period, and that really, even though they weren't the ones getting the goals necessarily, they were really starting to set that tone, and really it trickled down down the rest of the lineup as the second period came and went, and just they really set that tone. So got to give a lot of credit to the third line.
Yeah, you mentioned Gus Forsling. He had another really good game, and also took a really nasty hit from Matt Martin in the first period that had me a little concerned. We know Martin is kind of a bit of a goon, but we'll let that one go. And then the third line, they excite me, honestly. Lundell being healthy between Marchment and Reinhart, it just works, and it's the weirdest combination. No one saw this coming beginning of the season. I would have been shocked if you told me that would be one of our most productive lines, but that's hockey, and those three have some great chemistry. They excite me when it comes to playoff time, because if Barkov is up against the top line and Huberdeau is up against the second line, I don't see a lot of third lines around the league that are going to match up well with ours. It could be a Pittsburgh situation where they had that HBK line that pretty much carried them to a cup when you had, I want to say it was Bonino, Hagelin, and Kessel. I feel like we have the makings of that kind of third line that can really lead the play when the top two lines are canceled out by other star players.
Yeah, and for sure there was definite if top nine scoring, it has to be more than just the top two lines, and the Panthers have been really showing all season. And there was a tweet out on points for all the rookie scorers, and of course Lundell missing 15 games, and I calculated his point pace on what it would be for an 82 game season, and it's 59, and just short of what Michael Bunting is doing right now in Toronto. So just goes to show, and he's almost at 20 goals as well. So gotta give a lot of credit to what Anton Lundell is doing, centering that third line, and on a contending team too. So that's the beautiful thing about it. Great pick by Bill Zito in his very first draft as a GM of the Florida Panthers. But we're going to talk a little bit about Aleksander Barkov getting 3 goals in this one, a hat trick to set the a personal record, a career high in goals for himself. And we're also going to talk about some of the little mistakes and probably a lack of composure from Mackenzie Weegar in the next segment. But first, we're going to tell you all about HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Get farm fresh seasonal produce and easy to make recipes delivered right to your door every week. Ingredients travel from the farm to your doorstep in under a week. They also arrive fresh, all without a trip to the grocery store or the farmer's market. Go to HelloFresh.com/LockedOn16. Use code LockedOn16 to get 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Once again, go to HelloFresh.com/LockedOn16. Use code LockedOn16 to get up to 16 meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, make sure you listen to the Locked On Now podcast, which is nightly recaps from every NHL host from every game. So, Jacob, going to pull a little bit of a comment right here from one of the people listeners on the live stream. Gator Rock Tim says, Weegar, not a fan of him. I mean, I'm a fan of Weegar. I still like Mackenzie Weegar. Not the best game for him as far as, of course, another delay of game penalty. We've seen this. We've seen this from time to time for Mackenzie Weegar. And even though it wasn't a high stick penalty, Mackenzie Weegar, even though it was called that. I don't agree with the call, but there is a time and place for composure, for, of course, Mackenzie Weegar going to the box, hitting his stick towards the penalty box, gets a 10-minute misconduct in a time where, you know, it's a close game. You need one of your top defensemen there, but man, the Florida Panthers were really able to bail out Mackenzie Weegar after getting that 10-minute misconduct late into the third period.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times with Weegar this year where he's lost his composure a little bit and gets these misconducts. He cares so much. He's such a passionate player on the ice, and sometimes his emotions get the best of him a little bit. You can't do what he did there at the end, banging your stick on the glass and getting yourself tossed from that game. Come playoff time, that would be completely unacceptable. Also, he has to be aware that he doesn't wear an A or a C, so the refs tend not to let the guys who don't have an A or a C on their jersey talk as much. You have a much shorter leash in those conversations, and Weegar has to be aware of that. He's a veteran now. He's got to know that. But yeah, he puts his body on the line so much, and he takes all kinds of hits and blocks all kinds of shots. This time of year, I'm sure he's dinged up, and when your body starts to not break down, but when you start to take those knocks here, you can rely a little bit too much on overthinking, and I feel like he does that from time to time. Ekblad coming back is going to make a big difference for him, so I don't think we have too much to worry about come playoff time. But yeah, I mean, losing your composure at the end of the game, you just can't have that happen.
Yeah, and speaking of Ekblad, he was skating. He made the trip with the team, and he was skating with the Panthers at UBS Arena. Still no update on whether he would arrive early for the playoffs or next round. And Bruno talked also about how they don't want to rush him, and his body is going to be ready when it's ready. So I also think about the situation for Mackenzie Weegar. And I could also understand the frustrations as well. Just looking at the time of the penalty for the New York Islanders at the time, it was a delay of game by Kyle Palmieri, and 15 seconds into that power play where you're thinking, getting the man advantage, and putting them in a little bit of a scramble with that man advantage, and now it was taken away in a call that you didn't think that you should have had. So I kind of get the frustration there as well for Mackenzie Weegar, because 15 seconds, I mean, less than 5 minutes left. It's crunch time for this team, and the fact that the Florida Panthers were on the verge of possibly a 10-game winning streak snap, I can kind of understand it as well.
Yeah, definitely. He was justified in being angry. 100%. It was a bad call. There's no other way to put it. It's a bad call at a horrible time in the game. That's going to happen sometimes. So the fact that the Panthers were able to battle back from it, that's huge. But in Weegar's case, you have to relax. You're going to be out of the box in 2 minutes, and there's still going to be plenty of time on the clock. So you have to just take it on the chin for a minute and come back from it. But they bailed him out, and we move on. But yeah, definitely not a thing you want to see happen come playoff time, and it'll be good for him to get Ekblad back as his D partner. We'll see his game turn around a little bit.
Yeah, and that was the one and only power play through those 15 seconds that Andrew Burnett put the 4F1D in that game, and I could also understand the frustration from Andrew Burnett as well. But 4-on-4, that situation created a 4-on-4, and the goal that Barkov scored, we talked about it just you mentioned it just earlier. The shift by Barkov, lots of possession in the offensive zone. First, Barkov gets a dish to Ben Sherratt at the top of the point. It's saved. The puck scrambled. Barkov gets it again, shoots. There's a little bit of he shoots from the left circle. There's a scramble, and you see Barkov slowly moving to his right to the slot to just get ready. He's saying, if that puck is coming towards me, if it somehow bounces, I'm shooting it in. And he wasted no time. And that very important goal to tie the game, the a career high in goals with 36, his previous career high of 35 in the 2018-2019 season for Barkov, and just continuing to be that example on the ice when your team needs a goal the most. He's there, and just the captain doing it with a hat trick tonight, getting the game winner in overtime. Hubie with a beautiful pass as Barkov is skating into the zone as well. And then I don't know if you saw the freeze frame of Jonathan Huberdeau towards the end, but he had his hands on his head like that in shock that Barkov was able to get the puck and go backhand on Sorokin for the game winners. So just to continue to be a great example, Barkov scoring the goals, and of course Hubie distributing them. And also after the game, Barkov talked with Katie Goss talking about a photo for his record setting goal, and Barkov said he's used to it by now. I'm paraphrasing his word. I don't know the exact words, but the example that those two continue to have is just it's reflecting on the rest of this team.
Yeah, that post-game interview was pretty funny. Katie asked him if Huberdeau was going to be in the picture with the record-breaking puck, and he just said it's automatic. So
yeah, those are the words.
Those two they're just electric to watch right now. Just recapping all three of those goals. The first one, it's elite level patience to wait until that shooting lane opens up. And he's not a defenseman, so it's not even like he normally shoots from there. His hockey IQ is off the charts on that one. Second one, like you said, he just kind of gradually slides into that open space, hoping a puck comes to him, and Gudas makes an excellent play to kick that to Barkov. I didn't know Gudas had that in his offensive repertoire there to kick one out to Barkov. But just waiting in the perfect spot, perfect timing. Timing is everything. And then the third goal is just ridiculous. He gets in on the breakaway off that Huberdeau pass. You have maybe half a second to make a decision what you're going to do with that puck, and he waves the stick and backhands it. It was that was pretty special.
Mm-hmm. And also on that first goal, I want to go back a little bit. That first goal that Barkov had, just on the other end, the New York Islanders had a shorthanded chance going the other way, and Barkov had a back check to stop the rush, not even allow a shot attempt as well, and then they go the other way. And also just incredible what Barkov was able to do. And of course, once again, 116 points. Right now, Colorado does own the tiebreaker in the President's Trophy race with more regulation wins. Now 12-2 in overtime for this Florida Panthers team. So more often than not, this when it's getting to overtime, you get 3-on-3 hockey. This Florida Panthers team is going to find different ways to win. Not the same when it goes to a shootout, but being 3-4. But the Florida Panthers are doing a great job at ending games and not allowing it to get to shootouts. And that goal was just 20 seconds in. I mean, think about the different times that they had a goal within not even 30 seconds. I mean, the one that comes to mind is the Carolina game with Aaron Ekblad scoring as well. So just it's quick the way this Florida Panthers team is able to score on 3-on-3 when we get into overtime. So just great win. Once again, 23 a record of 23 games on the road to win this season as the Florida Panthers set another record. So just incredible. This team is so much fun to watch. Playoffs are around the corner. 6 games left. We're now starting to see the playoff posters outside of FLA Live Arena. And just it's almost that time. It's just exciting.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like they've really come into their own, and it's top to bottom, up and down the lineup. The defense is starting to take shape, and they're not giving up as many goals. That was the big question mark. We got 2 goaltenders that are feeling it right now. Barkov seems to have a shoot first mentality, and he's racking up the goals now. And Huberdeau's tearing it up in points. Giroux has been excellent. So we have a good chance to break the franchise record for wins in a row. So it's the momentum they're coming down the stretch red hot right now. It's a really good place to be at heading into the postseason. I feel like last year there was a lot of excitement about the battle for the Sunshine State series, but I feel like this year we have just as much, if not more, excitement because the league has not seen an offense like this in 25 plus years. So there's so much hype, and the building is rocking. It's going to be a really fun time.
For sure. And I'm having a blast. That's for sure. And I couldn't be happier. For sure. But we're gonna transition over to the next segment where we're gonna talk about the state of the Atlantic, the East. We have some clinching scenarios for Thursday night as the Florida Panthers welcome in the Detroit Red Wings for their final visit to FLA Live Arena, and we got so much to talk about in the last segment. But we're first going to talk to you all about Built Bar, and this is the time of year where I pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, then you're missing out on Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: cinnamon, churro, marshmallow, coconut, banana cream pie. So good. All Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate. Yes, Puffs included. At Built Bar, they're all about taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how, but they pull it off every time. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Third and final segment here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. I'm Armando Velez. I got Jacob Winans here on this Winans Wednesday edition of the show. So a great night for South Florida sports teams once again. Don't know what the final score of the Marlins game was. That game of this all three South Florida teams, the Marlins right now were the least of my worries. They lost to the Cardinals 5-1, but the Florida Panthers win, and the Miami Heat go up 2-0 over the Atlanta Hawks. I see you wearing a Vice jersey. I got something for you to see, Jacob. I got some Miami Heat socks on right here. So celebrating as well myself with wearing the socks there. So good night for the South Florida sports scene there. But let's also talk about clinching scenarios for the Florida Panthers. When the Detroit Red Wings come to town, here are the following clinching scenarios, which I tweeted at my personal account at MondoMan12. Goes as follows. So, a Florida Panthers win and a loss of any kind by the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Very important game in the Atlantic with determining home ice advantage for the Tampa Bay Lightning, even though they lost in regulation against Detroit, and Toronto won tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers, which Keith Yandel had a little bit of an embarrassing moment on a goal by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And here's the second one: an overtime loss by the Panthers against Detroit and a regulation loss by the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So right now we're at that point with a week left of the season, and you have an opportunity to clinch as early as Thursday for the top spot in the East. I think the first scenario is more likely to happen, of course, because the Florida Panthers had all their overtime losses this season have been on the road. So they haven't had a single overtime loss at FLA Live Arena. Oh, and Jacob, do you want to know the record of the Florida Panthers since they went on that 3-game home losing streak?
I think I know it. I'm going to take a guess before you tell me. Is it 22-1?
Correct. 22-1. And they doubled the amount of losses just in that little stretch of time in late February. They go on that Western road trip in California and Vegas as well. In the middle of that, they have a Canadians trip in there, and of course comebacks as well in New Jersey. Come back at home against Toronto. It's just, and this wasn't a team that hadn't faced adversity. You would think 22-1 and this team not facing any type of adversity. You think about Nashville on the road just recently. Their home game against John Gibson and the Anaheim Ducks, where they had to claw out another win. And their game against the New York Islanders, yet another win on the road where their opposition scores first. Aleksander Barkov's game-winning goal was their first and only lead of the night. Once again, clawing out a win, even when it's close. So all the questions around the Panthers fan base about whether this team has the ability to win close games, I think this past few weeks gives you your answer.
Yeah, they've won in pretty much every fashion imaginable just in the past few weeks. We've seen them blow teams out. We've seen them have to come back from insane deficits, especially obviously the New Jersey game, but the Toronto one sticks out quite a bit. It's they're doing it so many different ways. We've seen them lock it down and give up 1 goal, 2 goals. We've seen a few shutouts mixed in. They can win in pretty much any way imaginable. Honestly, I don't see what all the questions are really about. I feel like it's not coming from the Panthers fan base. It feels like it's mostly based on history, and this is not the same Panthers team we've seen. So the only thing left for them to do is just to prove it in the playoffs, and I feel like this team is built to do that. And I feel like we're also clinching at a really good time if it does happen Thursday. Not to say that it will. Weird things happen in hockey, but if they manage to clinch Thursday, it's a good time to do it. You don't have to expend too much and risk a whole lot against Tampa or Toronto, which are going to be heated, intense games. And I'd definitely like to see us rest some guys for the back-to-back to end the year. So it feels like the stars are aligning for a really, really strong entrance into the postseason this year.
For sure. And crazy thing is, as much as the Panthers might want to give some rest, especially to their goalies, we might see Jonas Johansson make 1, maybe 2 starts down the stretch of the season. But now in this game, with Jonathan Huberdeau having 3 assists in this one, all of them on Barkov's goals, one of them a secondary assist, the other 2 primary assists. But now he leads the race for the Art Ross at 111, just 1 over Connor McDavid, and he's now 3 over Johnny Gaudreau. So now we start to wonder, is Jonathan Huberdeau going to go for the Art Ross and play every single game from here on out? Is the coaching staff going to allow him to do so? How much does he want that record? How important is that record for Jonathan Huberdeau? Of course, for us, it's a good story, but we also got to think about how important is it to them, or how important rest is. I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau didn't play in the last game last season against Tampa Bay. So it's just something that this coaching staff and Jonathan Huberdeau got to weigh on in the next week.
Yeah, definitely. It's something to keep an eye on. Huberdeau doesn't seem like the type who cares too much about it. He just wants to win. So I could see him resting, but by the same token, these are not opportunities you get a whole lot of chances at. Leading the Art Ross at this stage in the season over Connor McDavid, that's an opportunity that we may or may not ever see him have again. So I feel like if you're in that position, you have to go for it. But winning is obviously top priority. So if they feel it's in his best interest to rest, then you rest him a game or 2. And that's not to say he won't win it, but it limits the chances a little bit. It doesn't take anything away from his season. And I think at the same time, the Panthers as a team are going to have a very similar question as it relates to the President's Trophy. Do they keep their foot on the gas and play everyone the whole way in an effort to win that President's Trophy over Colorado, or do we just let them have it? These are questions we're going to find out the answers to in the next couple weeks.
For sure. And a lot of the games in the next few days that the Panthers are playing versus and also the Avs, these next few ones are on Panthers off days. So the Panthers will get to see what the Colorado Avalanche are doing in their games, to see, keep an eye out on them. Aleksander Barkov after the game talked about how they don't really talk about the President's Trophy. So it's just about continuing to create good habits, continue to experiment little itty bitty things before this team is ready. So just but of course their eye is going to continue to be on the Colorado Avalanche. And I actually ran a poll today on the Locked On Panthers page for whether the fans want to have get the President's Trophy, want the Panthers to win the President's Trophy, excuse me. And the answers might surprise you of what the results actually turned out to be. 75% of the people who voted on the poll that I ran wrote yes, that they want the President's Trophy. I'm indifferent about it, but I was surprised that it was that much of a margin of the fans that want the President's Trophy. I thought it was going to be a lot closer, but again, I said it yesterday, that there's no guarantee that the Colorado Avalanche will make it to the Stanley Cup final. Worry about that stuff when it gets there. Just continue to, if you start to look out externally at everything else, it's going to affect how you play in this moment, and it's going to affect how this team's ability to stay present.
Yeah, definitely. It's a situation where I don't want them looking at the standings. We heard Andrew Brunette a couple days ago when they got the win streak up to 10. He didn't even realize it was 10 games. They had just been going a game at a time, which I don't know if you believe that he wasn't aware it was 10 games or not, but it just shows that it's not important to them. So don't worry about Colorado. I personally, this might be a hot take, but I personally don't even think Colorado makes it to the final this year. Yeah, they look really good, but I think Calgary is going to be the team that gives them a ton of trouble with their play style. I think Calgary or Minnesota could come out of the West, but that's for another discussion. I personally would love to see a Panthers Avalanche final rematch of '96, and avenging that loss would be a storybook ending. But as far as the President's Trophy goes, I kind of side with the 75% that wants it. We're Panthers people. We have not won a whole lot of stuff in the history of the franchise. So if you have a President's Trophy within reach, go get it. I think you go get it. I don't buy into the President's Trophy is cursed thing. It's a trophy that's there for the taking. Go get it.
You still have to play the games on the ice, regardless of whether you win the President's Trophy or not. That's really why I don't really believe in the superstition, but I kind of get it all at the same time. So, and there was the Florida Panthers. Before we wrap up, the Florida Panthers actually invited season ticket holders to FLA Live Arena today to paint the ice, and there was one Florida Panthers fan who wrote unfinished business, Panthers versus Avalanche. And it's weird to say unfinished business when it's 26 years since they matched up. So, I mean, how many fans are still alive from the people who watched this team? So it's kind of weird seeing that, but I kind of get it all at the same time. But hey, that'll be a cool story and a cool conversation topic for NHL fans, just to also compare the different eras of hockey from '96 to now.
Yeah, definitely. That Colorado team was an absolute powerhouse. Now, I wasn't even born yet. Like you said, there's a huge segment of Panthers fans and Avalanche fans who weren't even alive for that. But we know that team was a powerhouse. They had Patrick Waugh, and they just seemed like they were going to run the league. Yeah, they were just going to run the league for however long they wanted to, and they ran into some Detroit teams. But this seems like two teams that could be on a collision course for a Stanley Cup final, and man, that would be one heck of a story to bring back memories of that '96 team and that series. So that's the opponent I want. I'm a big believer in, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and I think Colorado is the best hockey team in the league outside of Florida. So I would love to see that. That would be fantastic, and what a marketing tool for the league to have a rematch of such an iconic final and be able to bring that back in 2022. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I also think about the two teams where they were, and right now we're recording this on April 19th. It's going to be aired on April 20th, but April 19th was on April 19, 1993, Wayne Huizenga officially named the newest franchise of the NHL at the time, the Florida Panthers. So you talk about that 96 final with a team just coming into the league in the Florida Panthers, the Colorado Avalanche just moving recently from Quebec to Colorado and making it to the Stanley Cup final. So those were other storylines at the time as well. And just recreating that would just be incredible, and definitely would love to see it. And it would make for good storylines.
Another point on that, another storyline that I feel like no one has really mentioned as far as that goes, if we do end up with Colorado in the final, that's McKinnon versus Barkov, number 1 and number 2 from that draft, and battling it out to see which one of the two of them would get the Stanley Cup first. That would be awesome.
Don't forget Landeskog and Huberdeau were all back-to-back picks too.
Correct.
As well. So that was another one. I don't remember which year Rantanen was drafted. I'm not sure if he was in the same draft as Ekblad.
2015.
Okay, yeah. He was the year after. So
yeah.
Okay, but it's cool how those 4 iconic players of Landeskog, McKinnon, Huberdeau, and Barkov back-to-back picks. So that too. So that's a good point, Jacob, for sure. But Jacob, another successful Winans Wednesday, a record for the Panthers on the road with 23 wins, Barkov a career high in goals, and just continuing to build off this incredible season by the Panthers. So thank you once again for joining this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can find you online and your work.
Yeah, you can find me on pantherparkway.com and on Twitter at JacobWinans8. Yeah, you hit it. I'm getting kind of spoiled now. It seems like every time I come on here, it's after a win. So hopefully that continues. And also, you touched on it, but definitely got to shout out the Miami Heat tonight too. Jimmy Butler, Barkov carried his team, and so did Jimmy. 45 points and a 2-0 lead. Heat for sure.
Go Heat, go Panthers, for sure. South Florida, enjoy this, because this is a great ride that this region is definitely going through. So thank you, Jacob, once again.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast so you'll be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On NHL and the Crosscheck NHL show with Andrew Berkshire and Mary Clark, who will be covering all the regular season activities around the National Hockey League. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, make sure you listen to today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Hosts Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the expert of your fantasy team. Follow the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans. And you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.